Welcome back to Real Conversations with Nora for my 59th episode of my topic of discussion this week is dealing with your circumstances while following your destiny. And joining me today, oh my goodness, is my dear, dear friend, Sean Key. We have known each other for over 30 plus years. It is so
Yes.
exciting to have him here. Sean was born and raised in New Jersey. He graduated with a BS in business management, and he has worked in the direct sales industry for over 32 years and is currently a Herbalife independent distributor and owner of Key Nutrition and Energy in hot, and I mean hot, Dallas. Thank you, Sean, for joining me today. It is so exciting to have you here. I'm so excited about having you on the show. I was
Thank you.
determined to get you. I was just saying, okay, just keep on asking. But thank
Thank you,
you
my
so much.
love. Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
So I read something the other day that says, I do believe that one way to have your destiny is to choose one. Her name is Melinda McGraw. She said, like the quote above, I believe we must look at our circumstances and deal with them because they are real. But we must choose to follow our destiny and not allow our circumstances to stop us. It is all in a decision. What's your thought about that?
Amen. I agree with it 1,000%, Nora. Once you decide, you can't be denied, right?
Right.
And decide is a really interesting word because of the letter CIDE, which means to kill off all other options.
Ooh, I love
Yeah, that's why the word suicide, the word pesticide, right? It means to eliminate
it.
everything else. And so when you decide, there will be challenges, there will be obstacles to overcome, but sticking to that decision will pull you through those circumstances, keeping the eye on your ultimate win and not allowing the distractions that come along the way stop you from that ultimate win is what makes champions. And so I agree with that quote, and I believe that everything happens after the decision. When you don't decide, you're in a state of waiting, you're in a state of uncertainty,
Right.
you're in a state of confusion, sometimes you're in a state of fear. But if you make the decision, then you'll know the path you're supposed to take that align with that decision. You'll know the people who are supposed to be a part of that path that you're going on towards that decision. So being undecided is not a great way to live life. And it doesn't matter whether you have circumstances or not.
Absolutely.
Making a decision will help you move in the direction of your dreams.
It kind of brings me back to and I don't even know how many years ago it was, but it was a long time ago. I know that. It was like 20 something plus years when I made the decision to leave Boston, and I called you and I told you I was going to move to North Carolina. And you said, oh, with you just have a way about how you say things. You said, oh, that's a great idea. Let's look at the demographics of it.
Yes.
I think that's like a man thing, a male thing, because then, they're not all caught up in the emotions like we are as women. But what an amazing move that was for me when I made that decision. My life was different. It was changed. I look back and I wouldn't even be here in Atlanta if I hadn't just made that one decision.
Right. Absolutely. We always do things 3 times, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And you had been down there and you had seen that there was opportunity. You saw it as a fresh start. The energy from the emotions that you had as a result of having spent time down there, that sold me on the idea, just right away, because you were excited. There was a passion about taking this opportunity to a place where you felt like it was lacking. And so you sold me on moment one from the energy from your emotions about that decision. And I just had to give you the thumbs up on my end and, just kind of do my due diligence to make sure that we were looking at the whole picture and not just the emotional side. But you're right. It changed everything for your business.
It really did. It really did. And let's talk about a little bit about too, that when you make a major decision, everybody's not going to be happy for you. Even when you get to the destination, there were people there that were not happy that I was there. And just imagine if I had stayed stuck on the fact that they weren't happy and I didn't look at the fact that my destiny, what was my destiny going to look like? What was I going to create in this destiny. Let's talk a little bit about that, because we know that when you move up the ranks of success, and I know you know this so well, that everybody in that circle, even though it's not your circle of influence, but they're in the circle, are not necessarily happy for you.
Right.
So how
Right.
important is for us to stay focused on that destiny? Let's talk about that.
Well, I really feel like we have to understand the role that people play in our lives
Mm,
and hold them true to those roles
mm-hmm,
and not expect something from them that is not a part of the assignment
mm,
that they play in our lives, right? So,
mm-hmm,
a great example, I use this example all the time, is my mother. My mother loves me unconditionally. My mother is truly the rock that our family stands on. Nothing against my father at all, but like she is the glue that holds us all together.
mm-hmm.
She is the communicator. Everybody downloads information to mom, and mom spreads it out to everybody, make
Right.
sure everyone's aware, right? But she's never run a multi-million-dollar organization or a
Mm-hmm,
multi-billion-dollar organization. So her role is not to advise me on how to build a successful business
mm-hmm,
or to tell me if I'm making the right decision about
mm-hmm.
a move or looking at a new opportunity.
Right.
That's not her role. Her
Mm-hmm.
role is to be mom, to
Right.
love me, to nurture me, right?
Right.
To be that rock in that
Right.
that place of security
Mm-hmm.
for me and the family. So I never involved her in decisions that she wasn't qualified to give advice on.
Right.
And sometimes we want to share with our friends and family, and they're not
Right.
supposed to be a part of our life in that way.
Right.
And so I am very, very, very passionate about drawing the lines as to
Mm-hmm.
who I talk to about what,
Mm-hmm.
because you can get all kinds of disappointment when you
Mm-hmm.
share good information with the wrong person.
Right.
And when I say the wrong person, I don't mean a bad person. I
Yeah.
mean they're not right for that question or they're
Right.
not right for that discussion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's super important that you align with people who are in agreement with the
Mm-hmm.
decision that you're making,
Mm-hmm.
the goal that you've set. Say
Right.
yes to the people and things that are in agreement with that decision and
Mm-hmm.
no to the people and things that are not. It
Right.
doesn't mean you eliminate them out of your life. You just interact with them in the
Right.
role that they've been assigned in your
Right.
life, and
Right.
and not don't get it mixed up.
Right. There was this, I think his name is Ralph Waldo Emerson is his
Yes.
name. He said, the only person you are destined to become is the person you have decided to be,
Oh,
not that other people have decided to be.
right.
He went on to say that many of us have likely felt stuck from making from making decisions that could determine our destiny. And he said, but we must realize that our circumstances do not define our destiny. We define the outcome of our lives, even in the midst of our circumstances, even in the midst of something happening that we weren't expecting to happen on a
Right.
particular day. And then we go home. And of course, if you're connected with somebody, you've been connected with them for a long time or something, it's painful and it does hurt. So you have that minute that you deal with it, but you got to deal with it. Wouldn't you
Sure.
agree? So can you talk a little bit about that? Because so many people don't deal with their circumstances. They allow their circumstances to determine who they are. So I have a coaching client or a potential coaching client, and we were just talking, and they said that they had something else to do, blah blah blah, without saying, but they sought me out. I didn't seek them, and so and I was thinking to myself now, how would I have handled that if I was looking for something, I really wanted something, I really wanted to change? I would say, well, you know what, I've got so and so going on, but let me see where I can fit in a slot
Uh-huh.
where we can kind of talk.
Right.
Because, and again, you're right. I was just so passionate about moving to North Carolina that, I didn't give it a second thought. I didn't say, I can't do it this week because I got so and so and so and so. I just made the decision, packed up my stuff, talked to my husband, and moved to that direction. But let's talk a little bit about that, because people, isn't that a big part of our world, and why people are there? The percentage of successful people is so small.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit
Absolutely.
about that?
Yeah, for sure. So if the challenge that you're still dealing with is a challenge from your past, I
Mm-hmm.
have thoughts on that first. And you really have to go back to the first time you felt like something was wrong. And
Right.
you really have to have a conversation with anyone that was involved in that experience that where you thought something's not right.
Right.
And that conversation is about apologizing, not because you were wrong in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
but allowing yourself permission to
Mm-hmm.
take responsibility for that situation still playing in your life, is a way of releasing, and it's a way of empowering yourself and creating freedom for
Mm-hmm.
yourself away from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I did that myself with a past challenge in my life, it was the greatest, most freeing experience.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize for something that someone else did uh, to me,
Mm-hmm.
not because of what they did, but because I allowed what they did to stay present in my life for 30
Mm-hmm.
years.
Wow.
And so once I did that, I
Mm-hmm.
was so free
Mm-hmm.
from any kind of stronghold that
Mm-hmm.
situation had in my life. I was completely able from that point forward to move forward
Right.
with confidence, and
Right.
it was no longer an issue because it
Right.
was released.
Right.
So I strongly recommend that people seek out, depending on what it is that has held them back,
Right.
either going through that process I just
Right.
talked about, or
Right.
professional help for that
Right.
matter, or some kind
Mm-hmm.
of coaching
Mm-hmm.
to get past whatever's in the past
Mm-hmm.
that is still current in your life, is still
Right.
playing in your
Right.
life.
Right.
Because what we do is we create evidence to keep stories that alive. So something bad
Mm-hmm.
happens to you, you make up a story about it.
Right.
Right? The
Well, that.
first thing we do is make up a story about
Right.
anything
Right.
that is bad in our life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we collect evidence to keep this story alive,
Wow.
right? So we seek out something that supports
Mm-hmm.
our story.
Mm-hmm.
But when you release that story and
Mm-hmm.
you disempower it,
Mm-hmm.
right, then you have the opportunity to create a future story that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't involve that past
Right.
story.
Right.
You know, I often teach that in, you know, two resources that we all have are our memory and our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the answer to this question for future challenges is that, are you going to memorialize a negative situation into
Mm-hmm.
your memory, or are
Mm-hmm.
you going to use your imagination to create
Mm-hmm.
a future that's better than
Mm-hmm.
that situation?
Wow.
So that's what I always challenge myself to do, is I want to tap into my imagination far
Mm-hmm.
more than I ever tap into my memory. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tap into my memory, it's going to be a happy story about a time when I'm with friends or family, or some
Right.
experience that was
Right.
incredible in my life. But that's it. I'm not going to tap into memory about a negative situation.
Right.
I
Right.
am not going to take a current issue
Mm-hmm.
and turn it into a memory. I
Right.
am going to say that happened, that's unfortunate, but
Right.
let's move forward. What does the
Right.
future look like?
Right.
Even with that in my life, what does my
Right.
future look like? What can I imagine in a
Right.
future that's
Right.
better than this situation?
Right.
And so that's how I've lived my life for quite a while now. And
Mm-hmm.
it has helped me tremendously
Right.
look at life's challenges through a different lens. And my imagination's on fire because
Mm-hmm.
that's the resource that I use more than any other resource that God
Right.
has given me.
Right. And the great thing about that too is that because you lived your life like that, or you set those boundaries. I remember Dr. Claudette Copeland said, we must set boundaries in our lives. And because you set those boundaries, when something does happen that could be, devastating, you now choose to gravitate towards your imagination
Yes.
versus the memory of what that person did, what they said, how they
Right.
acted, and the list could go on and on. I can remember the Holy Spirit said, I was talking to this woman, this was years ago, and the Holy Spirit said she was offended by what you said. And I was like, oh my God, she was. So I called her and I said, the Lord told me that you were offended by what I said. First of all, let me apologize. That's the first thing I want to do, because those were never my intentions
Right.
to offend you. So I'm not going to say if I offended you, because obviously you were offended. Let me just first apologize.
Right.
So that freed me.
Yes.
You know, I always believe that. I always tell people, people can't fix what they do not know. It's
Right.
your job to let them know what they do with the information. And whenever I leave a store, if I'm dissatisfied, I immediately look for the manager and say, you know what? I believe because you're the manager of the store, I have an obligation to share with you my experience here today. And I don't believe that you could fix it if you didn't know. I don't want to leave your store talking about how bad the store was, and then I go and tell the story like you said. I'm telling the story over and over. Don't go to that store. Da, 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 da.
Right.
And so I said, so I'm telling you today. Now, what you do with the information is going to be up to you, but I feel obligated to tell you, because I'm a believer that people can't fix what they don't know. And he was like, oh my God, thank you so much. He said, do you know the countless people that leave here and they're dissatisfied and they never said, that's never happened to me. I
Right.
said, well, I'm a believer of that. So that is so true, Sean. I mean, you have to release it,
Yes.
because it's
Yep.
only bondage.
Another thing that's important in being able to deal with challenges that come your way is really defining your identity. Because I believe we move in the direction of how we see ourselves, who we believe that we are. So
Yeah.
your identity is paramount in your decision to
Mhm.
be successful,
Mhm.
in your decision to change the world. Whatever your future looks like, it's going to be driven heavily by
Mhm.
your identity. I don't think we outperform our identity. I
Right.
don't think we outlive our identity. And so when you build your identity, when you take the time to build yourself from the inside out,
Mhm.
know who you are, know whose you are, and then say, this is who I am being
Mhm.
as my most powerful self, then
Mhm.
when things come along the way, they
Mhm.
bounce right off of you.
Right.
You can say, this is not in agreement with who I
Right.
identify as a leader, as a
Right.
success story, as a champion, as a entrepreneur, as a whatever your identity is.
Mhm.
You will know what is for you and what is not for you. You will
Mm.
know who is for you and who is not for you.
Mhm.
It becomes crystal clear when we
Mhm.
make the decision as to who we are and
Mhm.
define our identity.
Right.
I can't, Nora, I honestly can't tell you the last time something bad has happened to me because it just deflects right off of
Right.
me. Like, I know who I am so much
Right.
that if it is happening around me, I don't even realize it
Right.
because I'm not absorbing that
Right.
negativity
Right.
into the places I'm going in
Mhm.
my life. So
Mhm.
it could be happening. I just am not aware and don't really care if it's, I mean,
Like,
let's be
see ya.
honest. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
I
I
I
I
just
always
don't.
say, I always tell people, God never lets you go in the battlefield unaware. It's what you do with the information that He gives you. So if
Right.
He gives you the information, you're like, oh, okay, God, boop, and it bounces off, like you said. You're so unaware unless He makes you aware, and
Right.
it's something that you need to address. There are things we need to address, and there are things that we don't need to address.
Exactly.
You know.
Yes.
I love what William Shakespeare says. He said, it is not the stars that hold your destiny, but it is yourself that holds it. He says ourselves. I'm going to say yourself. And he says, too often we look at our circumstances and think that's who we are. We are just talking about that, okay? Which makes it hard to see your destiny. But if you think about it as something that you have control over, you can take deliberate actions to create and your desired destiny. He said,
Right.
this means being true to yourself and not being passive or following others' opinion or actions of who they think you should be or they determine that you should be, but it's all about who you think you should be. And he said, I truly believe that remaining your authentic self is the best way to determine not just your destiny, but the one that you were meant to be.
Yes.
What you thought about that? That
That's
was
powerful.
good. Wasn't that
So
powerful?
powerful. Yeah. Well, the word that you said the most in that quote was be,
Right.
right? Be being. And so I'm a strong believer in be first, do second, have third. And, that aligns directly with what he's talking about. There is, really owning who you are and
Mhm.
being like your most authentic self.
Right.
right? And not trying to be a copycat of someone else. You know, our friend Sabrina Monday often would say, "You were born an original, don't die a copycat," right? Like, I love when she says that,
Right.
and I agree with it 1,000%. And you know, I'm constantly working on my being, because if the end result is what you have,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to be materialistic, it could
Mm-hmm.
be you have a happy, great life. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
have the life of your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's the outcome, then we need to backtrack and say, how does having happen? How do you get the results? You get the results from doing. How do
Mm-hmm.
you get the results from doing? You get the results from doing, from being. Being is
Right.
the first step in
Right.
the process.
Mm-hmm.
So as you work on who you are, and you
Mm-hmm.
invest in yourself, and you become this confident person who you know, can overcome obstacles and bounce back quickly from things that they can't control, and continue to move forward with excitement and
Mm-hmm.
excellence. When you be that person, it's not going to matter what happens around you, because you are solid in your commitment
Mm-hmm.
to who you are
Mm-hmm.
authentically.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool about it too is that other people see who you be,
Mm-hmm.
and when they do, they self eliminate,
Mm-hmm.
or they step up.
Right.
And that's what's cool, because I have had people say to me over the years, you know, I have wanted to meet you and talk to you and work with you, but I was afraid,
Mm.
because I didn't feel like I had done enough to earn the
Mm.
right to have those conversations with you. And so what was happening in that situation is that I was being this person that gave off the energy that I don't mess around with people who are not serious. And
Mm.
that was super intentional on my part. It
Right.
was super intentional that
Mm.
I created myself in a way in which people who felt inadequate did not choose to engage with me,
Mm.
right? And so, from a professional standpoint, and so that has worked in my behalf. But what she was dealing with, this person in this example was a she, what she was dealing with was a lack of self confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she didn't decide, you
Mm.
know, who she was. Her
Right.
confidence wasn't, she wasn't being her most powerful self. And so
Mm-hmm.
when those two things are happening at the same time, you
Mm-hmm.
present yourself as your most powerful being.
Mm-hmm.
Other people don't, you know, they haven't gained that confidence, they haven't chosen to be a powerful version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They will self-select themselves out of your 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 uh your being, like your circle of influence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want to be available to everybody who wants to go in the same direction that we
Right.
want to go. We have to say no to people who are not ready to
Right.
move forward. It's
Right.
one of the hardest things as a leader to do,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
to you know, let people go who
Mm-hmm.
aren't ready. There are no good people, bad people, right people, wrong people. There are
Mm-hmm.
ready people and there are not ready people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And part of being a leader is knowing who's ready and
Mm-hmm.
who's not, and
Ready
moving.
to move. Ready to move.
Yeah, ready to move, right? And so you can be friends with a not ready person, but when it
Right.
comes to business, it's
Right.
not wise
Right.
to be working with non-ready people
Right.
towards a goal. It doesn't make sense,
Right. Right.
right? So that being is super important. Being determined to determines how well you do something. How
Right.
well you do something determines what you ultimately get
Right.
as a result.
Right.
It's not the other way around.
Right.
So the first level of leadership is self. You have to learn how to lead yourself. You have to
Right.
learn how to put tools in place
Right.
to keep you on track. One of
Right.
the tools I have is my Something for God to Do box, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my Something for God to Do box are little pieces of
I still
paper.
have mine.
Yeah, okay. Right. It's
I
names
remember you
of
had that.
people, it's
Mm-hmm.
names of situations that I can't control. So I
Right.
release that by writing it down and
Mm-hmm.
putting it in my Something for God to Do box.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tool so that I stay on track to be
Mm-hmm.
the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Another tool is I've written my I am successful because list. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
10 qualities that define why I am successful. They are true statements about how God has gifted me
Mm-hmm.
in a very unique and special way. And those statements are the foundation for my success.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, one of the talents I own is being strategic. That's a
Mm-hmm.
gift that
It
I've
is.
been blessed with,
Mm-hmm.
that is natural to me and
Mm-hmm.
easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and other people have it.
Right.
I'm not the only one, but I
Right.
know it. I
Right.
realize it. I
You
use it
walk
to
in
my
it.
advantage,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
It's a strength. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, knowing yourself on
Mm-hmm.
those levels
Mm-hmm.
really puts you in a position to win in
Mm-hmm.
any situation.
Right.
And that's what I love about like the investment I've made in myself is
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like I'm a champion
Right.
regardless of what the scenario is that you put me in, because
Right.
I'm going to attack that
Right.
situation with excellence because that's who I've chosen to be.
Hmm. That was so good because I was just talking to someone last week. I said, I'm just gifted in, you could ask me something. I could do a script just like that. I don't have to go think about it, write it down. It's just natural. It's
Yes.
something that I was gifted with. So if you're gifted with something, the Bible says your gifts will make room for you and put you before great people. So if
Yes.
you got the gift, that lady that didn't come to you, it wasn't you. It wasn't necessarily anything you did. It was her, because if she was confident in who she was, she said, you know what? Shauna, I'm not really where I want to be, but I so desired to do it. I
Yes.
mean, like when I moved to North Carolina, I wasn't where I wanted to be, but
Right.
I knew that was what I desired to do. I desired a change in my life, and because of that desire, I made the change and I did it.
Right.
So I think you have to know your gifts, but not most importantly, walk in your giftedness.
Yes.
And that, like you said,
Absolutely.
you walked in your gifted. You're so strategic. I would say you're strategic, you're brilliant, you're smart, and those are gifts that you have. Why not use them? They're going to
Thank you.
benefit you.
Yes.
They're going to benefit
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah, and the attraction that comes along with being who
Hmm.
you are supposed to be,
Right,
right? Of owning your power is
right,
so magical. Like
right,
it has allowed me to be friends with people like you. It has
right,
put me in situations where I have been, elevated
right,
to, you
right,
know, do things that really were not
right,
things that
right,
a person in my position would normally do.
right.
So it is amazing when you
Mm-hmm.
live within those gifts
Mm-hmm.
how all the other pieces seem to come together. You
Mm-hmm.
attract the right people, you deflect the people who are
Mm-hmm.
not ready, right?
Right.
And the thing about the not ready people is exactly what you said, is that you could be not ready for 10 years, but the moment you are ready and
Yeah.
you announce to a leader that I am ready, I am
Mm-hmm.
tired of living this life, being this
Right.
person, I'm ready to be this person.
Mm-hmm.
Every leader in the industry would jump at the chance to work with someone who
Right.
says I'm ready to win
Right.
bigger than I've been winning,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's funny about those scenarios is that they always had the open door.
Mm-hmm.
The door was never closed to them. They
Definitely.
may have closed it to themselves
Mm-hmm.
because they thought I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
put energy into them because they were not a top performer.
Right.
But the reality is the door is open
You just
if you're deciding to be a new version of yourself versus
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have Frozen. Ah, we froze. Let's see if we can move him. We froze.
oh,
Okay,
there you are.
we froze for a minute.
Okay. Could you hear me?
Yeah, we heard. Yeah, I heard a little bit. I was like, "Oh my goodness, we're
I know.
almost done. We're frozen. We're frozen." But that was good. Yes, that that who that person chose to be. That's what we talked about, and that
Yeah.
you were, in that that stage, she just chose, not to, chose to be where she chose to be, not where necessarily that, oh, I'm this big top dog and you can't talk to me. It was what was in her mind and what she
Exactly.
thought. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote, I don't know if you got the quote, but the quote
No.
of, okay. So one of my favorite quotes is, it's impossible to be who you've always been and who you want to be at the same time.
Wow.
And so what I want to work with, the people I'm excited to work with, are people who want to be that new version of themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I try
Mm-hmm.
to attract by who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You attract who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that being is so important, because it's going to put the people in your life that are going to, be assets to your future,
Right.
and not, slow
Right.
you down.
And my thing is, before closing, my thought is also too, why would God ever send you his best if you're not ready to receive his best?
Right.
I
Yeah.
always tell people that. Well, think about it. Why would God send you his best if you're all up in your head, you're not this, you're not that, and you got this powerful person that he wants to send your way, but you're not ready to receive them.
Right.
You can't get it, what you're not ready to receive.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's why I say about the, bad people, good people, no such thing.
Right.
Right people, wrong people, no such thing. Ready people, not ready people.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You
You're
know?
either ready or you're not.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
really not. And so this is the last one. I read something the other day that said, today is a new day. And don't let your history interfere with your destiny. Let today be the day that you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start taking action towards your life and what you want out of life. It says you have the power and the time to shape your life any way you want it. He said, break free of the poisonous victim mentality and embrace the truth about your greatness and who you are destined to become. You were meant to be great. You were never meant to be mediocre. And so I kind of
Amen.
elaborated this. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that before
That's
closing?
powerful. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite books is called The Greatest Miracle in the World. It's by Og Mandino. It's a
Mm-hmm.
short book.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the chapters is a memo from God to the reader. And
Mm-hmm.
in that chapter, he talks about, you know, of all the people
Mm-hmm.
that God could have created, between your mother and your father, God chose you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you weren't the only option.
Right.
Right? There were millions
Right.
of opportunities for a child to be born,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's different than you. Every
Mm-hmm.
child is different, right?
Right.
And so God put together the right formula for you to
Mm-hmm.
be the one
Mm-hmm.
that's born into this world to your
Right.
parents. And I
Right.
thought to myself, I beat millions. There were millions of other possibilities that could have been born between my mother and my father,
Mm-hmm.
and God chose me. So if God
Mm-hmm.
chose me, then I'm a champion. I
Mm-hmm.
beat the rest of them,
Right.
and then I should probably act like a champion every
Right.
single day. Why
Mm-hmm.
would he choose a loser? God doesn't
Right.
do that. He
No.
only chooses the winner.
Right.
And so
Right.
that has fueled my life for a very long time.
Mm.
So if I was chosen by God to be the winner of that race between my mother and my father, I'm the champion. I should wake up feeling like a winner and a champion
Right.
every single day. I
Right.
should live like a winner and a champion every single day. I should go to
Absolutely.
bed every night believing, regardless of the circumstances of the day,
Mm-hmm.
believing I'm a winner and a champion, because that's the only fact that matters.
Right. Right.
And there's a quote.
Right. Absolutely. I agree that we are winners and we need to choose to be winners, as Sean said. We froze a little there, unfortunately. But again, I want to thank Sean for being our guest on Real Conversations with Nora. And once again, I want to thank him for his insight. His insight. I didn't hear your quote. We keep
I know. Here
okay,
we got to hear the
good
quote.
message. That's why the enemy's trying to interfere, but we're going to keep going. I was just thanking you for your quote, but go ahead and tell your quote.
The quote is, when God has selected you, it doesn't matter who has rejected, neglected, or disrespected you, because
Wow.
God's favor always wins in the end. And so
Oh.
we've been selected. We
Uh-huh.
have God's favor. We
Right.
are the winners. We
Right.
are the champions. It doesn't matter who has disrespected, neglected us.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. We are the winners. And so that's my commitment to myself and to all
Mm.
the people who are connected to my dream,
Mm.
is that I will be that champion for you in
Mm.
all ways of my life.
Mm.
And I just challenge those of you out there to do the same, to make that
Right.
same commitment for your family, for your
Mm.
friends, for your loved ones, knowing that you're the winner of your race, you're the champion,
Mm.
and that's all that really matters in the end.
Well, Sean, I want to thank you for being our guest on Real Conversations with Nora. Are there any last minute quotes or comments that you would like to share with the audience before leaving today?
Well, I just think that there's always a season of winning. No matter what's
Mhm.
going on in the world,
Yeah.
there's somebody that's winning. And, you had to really look at the right pivots in order
Mhm.
to win during this pandemic.
Mhm.
But I'm sick and tired of talking about that or
Yeah,
having people talk about it.
absolutely. Me
I'm on
too.
to a plan of winning. So, what's the right pivot
Mhm.
that you need to make in your life to start winning if you're not winning, or to
Mhm.
continue winning if
Mhm.
you are winning,
Mhm.
and winning even bigger? So, pivot is everything. The
Mhm.
ability to
Mhm.
pivot is everything.
Mhm.
No president, no Congress, no mayor, no governor, no family member is ever going to make life perfect for you.
Right. You have to
You
make
have to make the adjustment
for
to
yourself.
life.
Mhm.
And the ones who make those adjustments
Mhm.
and keep making those pivots are
Mhm.
the ones we celebrate. Those are the champions. Those are the ones that we talk about
Mhm.
in a positive way.
Right.
So keep pivoting.
Mhm.
And as long as you're making progress, keep
Mhm.
going in that direction. But
Mhm.
the moment you start to see a decline in that progress, you got to
Mhm.
ask yourself, what's the necessary pivot
Mhm.
that I
Mhm.
need to make to continue winning? And if you're not winning, you need to make a pivot immediately. It's not a 180-degree turn. It's a
Mhm.
5-degree adjustment so that you can
Mhm.
start winning again.
Wow,
That's
that
my
is
final
so
thought.
awesome. Well, once again, I want to thank you for your insight. Oh my goodness, on today's topic. It was truly amazing. And to my Real Conversation with Nora audience, please follow me on social media at BWOTMFG and on Facebook at Business Women on the Move for God. And visit our website at BWOTMFG.com and sign up for our new programs, and make sure you stop by our retail stores where you'll find lots of great items, not only for you, but your family and your friends. And also ask your friends to watch the show each week and share with others. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Real Conversations with Nora. Have a blessed and awesome and prosperous week. Sean, how can they follow you? Talk about how they can follow you.
You can follow me on Facebook, Sean Key One, I believe, on Facebook, and also on Instagram, Coach Yave. Yave is key in Spanish, so it's Coach Llave. Coach Llave. That's how you can get more inspiration and conversation on Instagram. So I look forward to seeing you guys out there.
Okay, well, thanks, Sean. You guys
Thanks,
have
Nora.
a blessed and awesome week. Thank you,
You
guys.
too.